funeral of the patriarch Abraham, who was a great prophet for the Muslims. The sparks from his pyre turned into carp when they hit the water. The entrance to the so-called Cave of Abraham is always crowded with pilgrims. According to a local legend that contradicts biblical history, this is the birthplace of the prophet Abraham, friend of God. Şanlıurfa is a melting pot of races and ancestries: Turks, Arabs, Kurds, and foreigners. The souk is emblematic of the ethnic mix. A cacophony of voices speaking in many different languages, but one is missing: Syriac, the Aramaic of the Syriac Christians who lived here for centuries. Two columns known as the Throne of Nimrod, the biblical founder of Edessa, stand out against the sky on the Kale, or fortress. On one of the columns, one can still see an inscription in Syriac recording the name of Queen Shalmat, who was a member of the local royal dynasty which established itself in Edessa in the late 2nd century BC, and whose line of kings lasted until the early 3rd century AD. It is said that Abgar VIII, known as the Great, converted to Christianity in the year 206 with the majority of his subjects, and thus the city became the world's first Christian kingdom. This is more legend than history, but it is very likely that the new religion reached Edessa at an early date, making it one of the most important centers of early Aramaic-speaking Christianity. As a result, its local Aramaic dialect, Syriac, became the language both of the Syrian Orthodox Church and the other Syriac churches of the Middle East. Today, however, there are no signs of a Christian presence. The Christian population here, as in many other cities and villages of Upper Mesopotamia, was forced to migrate, or more precisely, to flee from the hatred and persecutions that, in 1915, even took on the characteristics of genocide. The last Christian communities left in 1924, spurred on by the massacres, and took with them all they were able to save from the dismantling of their churches: furniture, relics, holy books. Everything was transferred to nearby Aleppo in Syria, where they were warmly welcomed and have been able to continue professing their faith in peace. That's why traces of the early Christian community of Edessa can be found in St. George's Church in Aleppo. In the atrium, a modern bas-relief depicts the Aramean king of Edessa, Abgar V, known as the Black, who reigned many years before Abgar the Great. The king is depicted gazing at a linen sheet bearing the image of Christ. Tradition has it that Abgar the Black admired Jesus' miracles and sent a messenger asking him to come and heal a terrible illness from which he was suffering. Jesus answered that as soon as he ascended to heaven, he would send the king one of his disciples. When the messenger returned, he showed the king the effigy of Christ that Jesus himself had miraculously impressed onto a linen sheet, and the king was healed. Three keys are required to open the safe that contains the still intact holy books that belong to the Edessa community. Lay members of the church keep 2 of the keys, and the bishop keeps the 3rd. Among the precious manuscripts in the safe is the Chronicle of Michael the Syrian, Mor Mikoyel Rabo, dating from 1199 AD. Syriac became the literary language of all Christians of Aramean descent, both in the Eastern Empire and, farther east, in the Sassanid Empire. Syriac had its own translation of the Bible, the Peshitta, still used today. And in the course of centuries, Syriac has generated a vast amount of literature by many important authors. Saint Ephrem of Nisibin, in particular, is one of the greatest poets of the early church. It was he who coined the phrase, the hidden pearl, to describe the Christian message.
حد من يوم مرقونيثو شقلث آحي حزيت بهروزي بني ملكوثو يقني وطفصي دهوي بوثو هوتلو معينو وشتي ثمينو روزا ودبرو في قدامي ملكوثو دشمايو المرقونيثو
صمتوه أحاي عال فساد إيد تباقي بوه إزيد دحزيه من حد قبو هو تلوه أفي من كل جابين بصوته دبرو دلو متدرخد كولوه نهروي ري قدامي ملكوتو دشمايو مرقونيتو
بخي شفيوتو حزيت الشفيو دلوم الدالح وابدا خيوتو روزو رابو فغرد موران ضم صالالو بلو فولوهو حزيت القشتو دلوم تفالخ
ريح قدامي ملكوتو دشمايو مرقونيتو.
These Aleppo school children are reciting one of St. Ephrem's poems. It is as though their voices have crossed the border into Turkey, traveling to their ancestral home of Nisibin in search of the memory of Mor Ephrem the Syrian. Mor in Aramaic means Lord, Monsignor, or Saint. Until a short time ago, here in Nisibin, known today as